Allow me to start by paying my respects to the members of the panel and to express our appreciation as the United Nations to Terry for inviting us to speak here today. I would like to cover two key points in my comments and to orient them very much from the perspective of the United Nations. First, I'd like to share concrete examples of how a green approach is helping to spur growth here in India. And second, to reflect on the importance of including a strong environmental global goal in the next generation of the Millennium Development Goals. Allow me to start with reflections on the green economy. The United Nations is bullish on green economies. We think they're a good idea because green economies are the fastest and most effective way of delivering what we in the UN refer to as the triple crown of development: economic growth, social equity, and environmental sustainability. In his speech yesterday at the summit's inaugural session, Prime Minister Singh emphasized how important it is for governments to choose development strategies that accelerate inclusive economic growth on the one hand, but at the same time limit the expansion of the environmental footprint. If you allow, we'd like to share 4 concrete examples from India of how a green approach to the economy is helping to do precisely the 3 things we mentioned: spur growth, improve social equity, and at the same time preserve the environment. The first example is the use of energy-efficient technologies in the small-scale industrial sector. In the tea processing and small-scale steel re-rolling sectors, producers have been encouraged to modify their production lines and install new kinds of energy-efficient equipment. As a result, producers have saved 25% of their energy costs, they've reduced emissions, and because they've become more competitive, they have been able to not only protect existing jobs, but in fact, to generate more employment. The second example is the use of renewables by communities which are not connected to the electricity grid. Using biomass power, agricultural communities throughout the country have been able to store their perishable produce and then to sell it in markets at favorable prices when the producers themselves are ready. The impact has been significant for these off-grid communities. The returns to their labor have increased, wastage has been reduced, the incomes of the poorest families have grown, and the carbon footprint has remained minimal. A third important example is the use of public work schemes generated under the government's flagship National Rural Employment Guarantee Program. These are public work schemes aimed at controlling soil erosion, harvesting water, and improving vegetative cover. These public work schemes, which are being implemented throughout India in some of the country's poorest and most remote communities, are having a dramatic impact. Land productivity is being improved, guaranteed employment for the poorest is being provided, and environmental assets are being regenerated. The fourth example is investment in water-efficient irrigation. Communities are doing this by lining irrigation channels, using sprinklers and drip irrigation sets, and planting water-efficient crops. Communities that are taking these steps are seeing increased agricultural productivity, increased availability of water for consumption, and better sustainability of finite water supplies. Having shared examples of how a green economy approach at the national level here in India is helping to spur growth, improve social equity, and preserve the environment, I'd like to now share some reflections on the more global aspects of the green economy challenge. And here again, I would like to refer back to the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, when he, with great honesty, acknowledged that efforts have to be made both at the national level, but also at the global level to preserve our environment. Taking our cue from the Prime Minister and being honest ourselves, we perhaps have to admit that a great opportunity was missed in the year 2000 when world leaders took the unprecedented step of agreeing on a global development agenda, but failed to include in that agenda a strong or comprehensive Millennium Development Goal on the environment, agreeing only on a target for reducing biodiversity loss. The cost of this mistake has been significant. Many of us feel that precious time has been lost, time when collectively the countries of the world could have taken steps to protect the environment and planet. We didn't do this, and we can now only hope that our failure is not irreversible. In 2015, when the deadline for reaching the current Millennium Development Goals expires, we do have a chance to rectify this mistake and include a global goal on environmental sustainability in the new development agenda. We don't want to pretend that this will be easy. As we know, countries around the world are at different stages of development, and they are taking different development trajectories. We have to be sensitive to this. Countries that have already developed, and if we may be frank, have polluted the environment as they have done so, are in a very different position than countries who are trying right now to lift hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. As we seize this historic opportunity offered by the post-2015 development agenda to finally set environmental goals, we must confront directly this question of common but differentiated responsibility. There's no question that we all must take steps to ensure that we can continue to live safely and in dignity on the planet. But it makes sense for us to acknowledge that our responsibilities as countries are different. Our GDPs are different, our resource endowments are different, and our access to energy is different. There are, of course, many pragmatic and sensible ways in which this difference can be bridged. For example, we can take steps to collectively make sure that the clean technologies which are coming online, mostly in already developed countries, are made accessible and affordable to users in countries which are catching up. There are other pragmatic and sensible steps. I hope everyone joins us in the UN in committing ourselves to finding and supporting these pragmatic steps. Thank you.